we are right back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Friday edition of Chasing That Paper, presented by VegasInsider.com. Big show today. NFL Week 18 action, coming off of a 1-3 stinker there yesterday. Wasn't even close with that pick on the Dallas Mavericks, +3 at home to the Celtics. So absolutely ashamed of myself. I vomited all over the floor last night as a result of that performance. But we do live to bet another day, and that day is today. And we're winning on these Football Friday shows. So we're going to look to close out the regular season with another W here. So let's bring in my co-host for the day, the second most provocative man in all of sports betting. The pride of, is it Berwick, Nova Scotia?
Oh, how dare you say I'm from Berwick.
Coldbrook?
Coldbrook. Shout out Coldbrook Cougars.
Oh,
the elementary school here. They're the Coldbrook Cougars.
Former Coldbrook Wendy's employee?
Yes.
You ever make the local newspaper, Ian?
For football, yes, several times.
I made my local paper for baseball on 2 separate occasions, and it's been all downhill since. But here I am on YouTube hosting my own show. So in your face, everyone from my hometown. Okay, let's get right into the action here, Ian. Week 18, a little bit tricky. Who's in, who's out, guessing motivation and whatnot. But we think we got a couple good spots here. So we're going to let you hit lead off here. First game of the week, a couple games on Saturday. We have the Chiefs in Las Vegas versus the Raiders. Which way are you going with this one?
Yeah, Kansas City, Las Vegas. I'm going to make the same mistake that I've made several times this season, and that's lay a big number on the Chiefs. So give me the Chiefs -9.5 in this spot. I can't not bet them once I look at the numbers here. Net yards per play. This season, the Chiefs are first in net yards per play, +1.2. First in net yards per play on the road this season, +1.6. First in net yards per play over their last 3 games, +1.9. So you can't ignore those kinds of numbers, at least when it comes to moving the ball down the field and preventing the other team from doing so. The Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. And also, don't expect another strong Jarrett Stidham start. Sure, he played well last week against the 49ers, but let's not forget who this guy is. Let's look at his career numbers here. 57.9% career completion percentage, 5 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, and a 72.6 quarterback rating. Not good. I'm going to rely more on his career numbers than just maybe one hot start last week. But also, Kansas City does have some things that they still are playing for. Obviously, the Bills and Bengals situation make things a little bit more complicated, but they still need to win to guarantee themselves a first-round bye and potential home field advantage in the AFC Championship. It kind of depends on what happens with the Bills and Bengals, but Chiefs still have something to play for, and Patrick Mahomes is I think it's 430 yards away from the single-season passing record. Still, it's going to be tough, but it's not insurmountable. I think he comes out hot and at least gives himself a chance. So give me the Chiefs -9.5 on Saturday afternoon.
Okay, we move to Sunday for my first bet. We have the Ravens and Bengals getting after it. Kind of a low total here, 39.5. Well, guess what, motherfuckers? It's not low enough. Give me the under in this one because rock bottom scoring continues in Baltimore Ravens game. They've gone under in 7 of their last 8 games. 5 of those games actually failed to cross 30 points. Let's dig into it. This Ravens defense deserves a lot of goddamn respect. 16 or fewer points per game allowed in 7 of their last 8. This is one of the best defenses in the NFL for the season. They rank 4th in third down defense. They're number 2 in the red zone and are 3rd in yards allowed per rush attempt. However, complete contrast on the other side of the football. Complete incompetence from this Ravens offense. 17 or fewer points per game in 6 of their last 7. This team desperately needs Lamar Jackson back if they want to advance to the playoffs. Let's take a look at the other side of it here. The Bengals, their defense absolutely excels at home. On their home field, they're allowing just 18.3 points per game, ranking 4th in opponent third down conversion percentage. Expect a lot of punting in this one. And of course, the Teams played earlier in the season. They combined for just 36 points, and Lamar Jackson played that game. Give me under 39.5 Ravens versus Bengals. Okay, we go back to Saturday. The AFC South title is on the line. Titans, Jags. Ian, who's taking this one?
Yeah, I don't see how you could take the Titans in this spot. Maybe it's obvious, maybe it's a trap, but I don't believe in traps. I'll fall for it if it is one. Give me the Jaguars -6.5 against the Titans here. I just talked about how the Chiefs lead the NFL in net yards per play over each team's last 3 games. Well, you know what team is second on that list? It is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They could be this year's version of the Bengals from last year. They're hitting their stride at the right time. And it's not just the Jaguars as a whole. It's Trevor Lawrence. He's on absolute fire. Hand up. I was getting ready to call this guy a bust, but since Week 9, he has been absolutely fantastic. Since Week 9, he has a 70.55% completion percentage, 106 quarterback rating, which leads quarterbacks, I believe, during that stretch. 14 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. This guy's on fire. Now he gets to take on a Titans team that has no offense. Ryan Tannehill gone has completely ruined them. There's no threat through the air. The Malik Willis project is over. Joshua Dobbs gets to start again, and he stinks as well. So teams can just kind of stack the box against the Titans. Leaves them with very little offense, only 4.9 yards per play over their last 3 games. The Jaguars handled them just a few weeks ago. I think they do it again on Saturday night. I'll take the Jaguars to win and cover to win the AFC South.
Yeah, Jaguars, potential dangerous team in the upcoming playoffs here. Okay, we're back to Sunday. We are back to the AFC North, big AFC North show. Today we have the Browns and the Steelers. We have a total of 40.5 points for this one. Once again, give me the under in this matchup. So look at these defenses. They've been fantastic lately. Each is limiting points. Pittsburgh has allowed 17 or fewer points in 6 straight games. Cleveland has allowed 17 or fewer points in 5 of its last 6. And Deshaun Watson at quarterback for the Browns has been a complete and total embarrassment. This man should be ashamed of himself for many reasons. For football reasons, though, the offense is averaging just 12.6 points per game in his 5 starts this season. He's only thrown for over 200 yards once in his 5 starts. Now they go into Pittsburgh versus a defense that's absolutely peaking. Maybe a tough spot to have a breakout game for Watson. Meanwhile, let's look at the Steelers offense. For the season, they are 27th in yards per play and 29th in scoring. Let's not sugarcoat it for a goddamn second. This offense absolutely sucks. I keep hearing about how Kenny Pickett is excelling. He's getting a ton of credit. And he's been okay for a rookie, but in reality, the numbers are quite underwhelming. 3 more interceptions and touchdown passes this season. He's only gotten into the 90s in 1 game for his quarterback rating. Pittsburgh has stayed under 20 in 4 of its last 5 games. Expect this pattern to continue. Give me the under between the Browns and Steelers. All right, Ian, let's keep rolling. What do you have next?
From the AFC South to the NFC North, I'm looking at the Vikings and the Chicago Bears, and I'll take another favorite here. Maybe I'm an idiot laying this many points in Week 18 games, but I'll do it. Give me the Vikings -7.5 against the Chicago Bears, mainly because the Chicago Bears are sitting at Justin Fields, and they are starting Nathan Pick 6 Peterman, who absolutely sucks. If you don't know this guy, he might be the worst quarterback in NFL history. I often ask myself how he still has a job in the NFL. And the answer, I think, is because he gives teams an excuse to lose games. Like, if a team wants to purposely lose a game, just put in Nathan Peterman. Let's listen to his career stats here. 52.5% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns to 13 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 32.2%. This guy's a bum. And Minnesota is actually surprisingly playing some of their best football that they have all season. 14th in net yards per play over their last 3 games. That might be surprising considering their record, but for the majority of their season, they've been in the bottom 5 in net yards per play. So 14th is a pretty big improvement for this team. And much like the other teams I talked about, the Vikings do have something to play for. They are still aiming for the number 2 seed in the NFC. They need to win their game and hope the 49ers lose to the Cardinals. Obviously, that's going to be a tall order. 49ers are, I think, 14-point favorites. But 49ers don't play until the late afternoon slot, so the Vikings have no choice but to try to win this game to at least give themselves a shot. They'd look stupid if they lost and then the 49ers lost. So, give me the Vikings minus 7.5 against Pick 6 Peterman.
Pick 6 Peterman. I like that one. Okay, guys, we need some sort of overbet on the program today. So I'm going to take the Washington Commanders to go over their team total of 16.5 points. And how about a little bit of goddamn respect for Sam Howell, the pride of Waynesville, North Carolina. This man is a sleeping giant who set records at North Carolina, and he is the future franchise quarterback for the Washington Commanders. Your saviors here, Commanders fans. And Howell's excellence will be on full display versus the Cowboys this Sunday. In all seriousness, though, how much of a drop-off at QB can he be from Wentz and Heineke? They've topped this number of 16.5 in 8 of their last 10 games with Wentz and Heineke running the show. Facing a Cowboys defense here that's fallen off a little bit. They were elite to start the year. Not so much anymore. They've allowed more than 16.5 in 7 of their last 9 games. A couple of awful games defensively here over the last month. And there's high potential for an early exit for Cowboys starters in this one. They'll be scoreboard watching. They'll need the Eagles and 49ers both to lose to improve their playoff seeding. Each of those teams favored by 14 points, so the deeper we get into those games, maybe there'll be less to play for the Cowboys, and their defensive stars will get some time off. Give me the Commanders over 16.5 points. Okay, Ian, your final pick for the show today. What do you have for us?
Yeah, I took 3 favorites, so I guess it's time to take an underdog. Give me the Rams plus 6.5 against the Seahawks in the NFC West. Har, 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 har. Yeah, the Rams refuse to give up. I've tried to fade them the past few weeks. To be fair, they did lose pretty bad to the Chargers last week. But for the most part, ever since their season was over, they're still competitive in these games. They refuse to give up. There might be a team that you might want to take some points with, especially in this matchup, because let's not forget, the Seattle Seahawks needed a last-minute drive to beat the Rams in early December just a month ago. And in that game, John Wolford was still their quarterback. I think it was the last time John Wolford was the Rams quarterback. And say what you will about Baker Mayfield, but I do think he's a better quarterback than John Wolford. Seahawks might have their hands full with Baker Mayfield, especially because if you look at net yards per play over their last 3 games, the Seahawks 25th in the NFL in that stretch. The Rams actually better than that, 22nd net yards per play compared to the Seahawks at 25th. So 6.5 points. I think this is way too big of a spread. Don't bet on the Seahawks just because this is a quote-unquote must-win game for them. That doesn't mean that they're magically going to play better. I'll take the 6.5 points with the LA Rams, and I wouldn't be surprised if they win outright and rain on Seattle's parade. Give me the Rams and the points on Sunday.
All right, let's wrap things up with the game of the week, probably. Sunday Night Football. We got the Lions, we got the Packers, and I've got the underdog. Hoof, 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 hoof. Give me the Lions, +5 in this one. So, yeah, the Packers on a decent run here. 4 straight wins, absolutely, making that push to get into the playoffs. But they've had an insane amount of luck. It's unreal. So during their 4-game win streak, they've lost the yards per play battle in 3 of those 4 games. They lost that yards per play battle by a wide margin versus both the Bears and the Dolphins. They have an insane +11 turnover margin in these games. Lots of luck involved with turnovers, as you know. Over the last 3 games, they're 29th in net yards per play per Iain MacMillan's report. Find that on his Twitter feed. These teams are neck and neck in net yards per play for the season. And the Lions, they've been playing fantastic football. 8-1 against the spread in their last 9 games. 7-2 straight up in this span. Yes, one really bad loss to the Panthers 2 weeks ago. The other loss came versus the Bills, a close one on Thanksgiving. But they do have a couple double-digit wins in this span versus teams that will be playing in the playoffs. And do not judge these teams based on prior reputations. Yes, The Packers have been kings of this division forever, and they have a Hall of Fame quarterback. Yes, the Lions have been a complete and total disgrace, and they do have a punching bag at quarterback, but the Lions' offense is great. The Lions' offense is better than the Packers' offense. That cannot be denied. Dig into the numbers. The numbers do not lie. I think they can keep up versus a bad Packers defense that's having a lot of luck. Give me the Lions +5 in Sunday Night Football. All right, there you have it. 8 total picks for Week 18. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube right now, do me a favor. Hit that like button down there. Also, hit that subscribe button down there. Okay, still a lot to get to here, a lot of topics to kick around. But before we get there, I want to tell you guys a little bit about our sponsor, BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Start off your day of sports betting with the king of sportsbooks. Sign up with BetMGM using bonus code VIBONUS. And your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. That's VIBONUS, all one word, no spaces. And your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. You must be 21 or older. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks.
Broncos country, let's ride.
One last one for the season, I guess, right? Broncos country, baby. Okay, so I kind of touched on this off the top. Week 18, everyone knows it's a little tricky. Playing the guessing game quite a bit, in terms of motivation, who's in, who's out, announcements coming out even this morning. Mike White won't be playing. Joe Flacco. We'll talk Dolphins Jets here momentarily. But let's talk about the approach that people should have to Week 18 betting. I think maybe the biggest mistake someone can make is if the main part of their handicap is, well, this team has absolutely nothing to play for, whereas the team they're playing, if they win, they can get into the playoffs or improve their playoff seed. And guys, sportsbooks just aren't giving away money. These players are on the field, they're going to be trying. You have to keep in mind that a lot of these players are trying to reach incentives with hitting certain stat milestones. You have coaches who are coaching for their jobs. You have coaches whose contracts are coming up. They're looking to get promotions. They're looking to get on somewhere else. They're looking to make more money. So the effort will absolutely be there if the players are on the field. However, you take a look at that Chicago Bears situation. That's probably a situation where they are setting themselves up to lose. Let's be honest, Nathan Peterman, there's potential that the Bears could end up with the first overall draft pick if they do lose and the Texans win. I think that's how that will work out. So, maybe a good week to lower your stake a little bit. Ian, what are your thoughts on Week 18 betting? It is a little bit of a pain in the ass, isn't it?
Oh, it's the worst slate to bet on in the entire sports betting calendar across all sports. But yeah, just to echo your point, Joe, don't bet on teams just because it's a must-win game for them. I mean, you can think of plenty of examples where teams, all they had to do was win their final game against a shitty team in the final week and make the playoffs. Look no further than last year. The Indianapolis Colts, weren't they like 14-point favorites against the Jaguars? Yeah. All they had to do was win the game to get in the playoffs, and the Jaguars beat them by like 30 points or something. And then a few years before that, the one that always sticks out in my mind is, who was it? The Bengals upsetting the Ravens in the final week, which allowed the Buffalo Bills to sneak into the playoffs for the first time in a long time. It actually almost kind of seems like once a year there's a big upset in the final week of the regular season. So, it's tough because, like you said, Joe, some teams will purposely lose games. I also remember the Eagles a couple years ago, similar to what the Bears are doing with Nathan Peterman. The Eagles played Nate Sudfeld in the final game of the regular season. So just take a look at what kind of players are playing here. Take a look at player incentives if you want to bet on player props, especially if a team doesn't need to win. Maybe they're going to try to get their players to reach those incentives to make a little bit of extra money. So other than that, unfortunately, it's the 1 week of the season that you do have to kind of rely on motivation a little bit, gut feeling maybe a little bit, because it's hard to rely on stats, especially in games where you don't know how long the starters are going to be playing for, like the Buccaneers and Falcons game. It's hard to rely on stats when Tom Brady's probably only going to play a quarter or a half. So it's a tough slate. Maybe reduce your bet size, maybe reduce the number of games that you're betting on, but that's what I got to say about it. Don't rely on just must-win situations.
Yeah, bet on hockey on Sunday. Okay, guys. So big news yesterday. The Bills and the Bengals game just being completely canceled. And as a result of that, we have a bit of a goofy playoff scenario. The gist of it, there's still a lot of dominoes at place here, is basically if the Chiefs and Bills advance to the AFC title game, then that game will take place at a neutral site. So first of all, there's no guarantee that those teams are going to meet in the AFC championship game, right? Because we still have a week 18 and the wild card round and the divisional round. Those Kansas City Chiefs playing a lot of close games, don't they? So there's no guarantee that those teams are going to meet. And second of all, shut up to everybody who's complaining about this. Like, they announced this yesterday, and I saw a bunch of people complaining. This was a no-win situation for the NFL and the teams involved. You know, what is the perfect scenario to this situation? I see some people suggesting that, okay, let's just play the Bills and Bengals as the only game this week, then delay the rest of the league and the rest of the playoffs, push that all back a week. That's a stupid idea, guys. You don't understand the logistics involved with this, with TV contracts, and then you're hurting certain teams. You're helping other teams by essentially giving them a bye when they wouldn't ordinarily have one this late in the season. So you can't do that. You know, not every team's going to win in this situation. There was no perfect situation. And I do think the one thing that came into mind was for the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills went into Kansas City during the regular season. They had a win there. So I think that's something that the NFL kind of kept in mind when coming up with this ruling, which I still don't think is official yet. But who knows if this is going to happen. And if we do get to a neutral site situation in the AFC Championship game where it is the Bills and the Chiefs, I think the perfect place to play that game, do it in Las Vegas. I think that'd be great. So, Ian, what do you think of what appears to be the upcoming ruling here for the NFL? And where would you like to see this game be played at if it is indeed the Chiefs and Bengals in the championship game? Chiefs and Bills,
I think.
sorry.
I think if it's Bills Bengals, I think it's neutral site as well. Vegas makes sense. Atlanta would make sense. Obviously, Atlanta doesn't need their brand new stadium at all in the playoffs, so I think Atlanta could make a lot of sense. It'd be Eastern time zone at least. But yeah, I saw. I don't want to give this guy a shout out and give him any credit here. A guy I saw complaining that the Bills and Bengals, this is all Roger Goodell's fault, and they should have just played either Tuesday night or Wednesday night. What are they going to do, play 3 games in the span of a week? Like, what are we doing here, dude? The Bengals and Bills play Wednesday night, and then they have to turn around and play their Week 18 game this Sunday. It was a shitty situation. There was no perfect answer for it, but I think this is probably the best they could have done. I think it makes a lot of sense. I did see a weird twist that is going to be kind of hilarious if it happens, that if the Ravens beat the Bengals this week, and then they face each other in the wild card round, they flip a coin for who gets home field in the wild card round, which is absolutely hilarious. Reminds me of Friday Night Lights, the movie, when the 3 teams have to flip a coin to see who goes to the playoffs. So I do kind of hope that happens, because I hope they nationally televise the coin flip and make a big deal of it. That'd be amazing. So I am kind of rooting for that.
So if it does come to a coin toss situation, which way are you going to go, heads or tails?
That's a great question. Who calls it? Who gets heads? Who gets tails? That's a great question. I didn't see that. I think I'm generally a heads guy. I think tails, I think you get a little too cute with it. I like to just stay with the classic heads and hope for the best. And if I have to fall on that sword, then I will. I'm not a big believer in tails never fails. I think that's getting a little too cute with it. Just give me heads and let's hope for the best.
Heads always prevail. So I kind of like the idea. I threw this out yesterday on Twitter, and I had a lot of support. As we know, the WWE, the Royal Rumble, is coming up here very soon. I suggested you put Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in the Royal Rumble. They enter at 1 and 2, and whoever's able to last the longest, then their team would get that number 1 seed and home field advantage. Now, there was a little bit of a pushback. People saying, well, Allen's the bigger man. He's more physical. But, guys, you got to keep in mind, it's not always the biggest man who wins the Royal Rumble. There's a lot of examples. Shawn Michaels has won it a number of times. So I think that would have been a good solution. But you know what? I'm not complaining with what the NFL did. I like the idea, actually, of expanding to 8 teams. Because, of course, you see the helmet in the back. I am, unfortunately, a fan of the team who currently occupies that a seed. Still a decent shot of getting into the playoffs. And I got to be completely honest here, Ian. I've completely given up on Miami Dolphins. My Miami Dolphins, the swings this season I've gone through with this team. You know, the most explosive offense for a stretch of 5 games. Tua in the MVP discussion, the darkness of Tua, the concussion stuff, the collapses here late in the season. But we have them, they're in a decent position to get into the playoffs. The Bills, as a 7.5-point favorite, they have to beat the Patriots. And now the Bills do have something to play for a little bit. They will want to hang on to that number 2 seed. And also the Dolphins have to beat the Jets. It's been announced that Joe Flacco is going to be starting at quarterback. And this line is moving now. The Dolphins yesterday were a 1-point underdog at home. Now they're a 3.5-point favorite in this situation. Producer Tito pointed to a couple other Jets will be missing this game. I don't think it's a situation where the Jets are tanking by any means. I think that they can improve their draft position, go from 13 to 10 maybe. So not a whole lot of incentive there. And also Robert Saleh, you're hearing some whispers, not necessarily on the hot seat, but you'd think you'd want to close out the season on a winning note. We got to keep in mind here, it's Skylar Thompson, a quarterback here for the Dolphins. So how do you see this game, with Flacco now in at quarterback instead of Mike White? You think the Dolphins can punch their ticket to a first-round elimination here in the playoffs?
Listen, I think Tua is actually a really good quarterback. So Tua being out has now flipped my opinion on the Dolphins. I don't really know anymore. I've been defending the Dolphins a lot the past few weeks. I don't know if I can keep doing it, especially because now they're going against what ended up being my AFC team in the Jets this season, who have also
been darling.
So yeah, but with Mike White out, this is probably going to be Joe Flacco's last start. That's going to be kind of fun to watch. I am on the Jets. I took the Jets back when I thought Mike White was starting. I don't know how confident I feel about it with Joe Flacco. I do think the Dolphins win. I think the Dolphins do get into the playoffs, though, because I don't think the Patriots are going to beat the Bills. So, but they're not the same team without Tua. I'm seeing a lot of people saying that Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson isn't a huge step down from Tua. I think it is. I think Tua is actually a very good quarterback, and I think he's got a lot of undeserved flack the last few weeks.
Ian, we love you, baby. Yeah, I'm down on my Dolphins, but not down on Tua. I will always have his back, although it is exhausting being a Tua defender and Tua supporter, so I hope he can get back to good health, too. Rumors have it that he might be in position to start if they do get into the playoffs. I think that they could give the Kansas City Chiefs a good game. Now, it doesn't appear as if they get in. It looks like they would face the Buffalo Bills if everything breaks how it's supposed to, but things do not break how they're supposed to often in the National Football League. And I think actually your idea for Atlanta for that neutral site game, I do think that makes more sense than Las Vegas, because people could make the argument that, hey, Kansas City, they're accustomed to traveling to Las Vegas, and
True.
So maybe a small little edge there for them. Keep it in the Eastern time zone, I guess, in Atlanta. Either way, you're selling out that stadium. I don't know which one would be more travel-friendly for the fan bases. Maybe they would factor that in as well. We put a poll up on our Vegas Insider Twitter channel. Make sure you follow them, Twitter feed, I guess you could say. Who's your sleeper team? I forget how Tito worded it when he put it up. Who's your NFL playoff dark horse? The Bucks, the Chargers, the Giants, and other. Last year, it seems like every other year we have some type of a dark horse get in. I wouldn't necessarily consider the Bucks when they won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago as a dark horse, but they needed to play 3 games on the road to get to the Super Bowl, then eventually win it. Last year, of course, we saw the Bengals. And, man, I don't know about the Chargers, guys. I think they're a little bit overrated. I know they got a lot of the sexy names, and Herbert's the top 5 quarterback, absolutely. But if you look at their results from the season, pretty underwhelming stuff, really. Not a lot of, big ass kickings or anything. The Buccaneers, they're coming off maybe their best game of the season, and they do host the Dallas Cowboys and it's looking like that in the first round. And, you know, Mike McCarthy could easily fumble things up. And I don't believe in the Giants at all, although I wouldn't be surprised if they beat the Vikings. People might make an argument for the Packers. The Jaguars are playing their best football of the season. So who's a team here, Ian, that you think could make a little bit of noise, maybe knock off a 1 or 2 seed in the divisional round? Who would be your favorite dark horse if you have one yet?
In that poll, I'd be voting for the other there, and it's a team that I talked about a little bit earlier in the show. I'd say the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a team that has already beaten some stiff competition this season. They beat the Cowboys earlier in the year in overtime. They were beating the Eagles for a while early in the season, if you remember that. The Eagles came back and won that game. They gave the Chiefs a bit of a scare there. They beat the Ravens already 28-27. As long as they beat the Titans on Saturday, I think the Jaguars are going to be the dark horse in the playoffs. I don't really see any other low-seeded team going on a run here. If anyone, I think it's the Jaguars. Other than that, I'm out on every other team.
I'll tell you, man, if the Patriots can manage to sneak in, you do not want to bet against Bill Belichick as an underdog. And no, you're going to hear that. If the Patriots get,
oh, you will.
Really want to go against a Belichick defense as an underdog in the playoff? You're going to hear that. We're hoping that the Dolphins can get it. We'd love to see that. Finally, we'll wrap with this here, Ian. Tesla has dropped 7.4% at open to the lowest level since August 2020. Your advice to investors?
Buy low, I guess. I don't know, dude. I can't even think of a witty response back to that, man. I don't know.
All right, Ian doesn't know. Hey, he's keeping it honest here, guys. All these other shows are going to feed you a crock of bullshit. Ian just says, I don't know. That's how we do things here at Chasing That Paper.
Listen, there's two main forms of gambling. It's either sports, betting on sports, or betting on the stock market. And I choose sports, so I know very little about Tesla stock. Instead, invest your money on the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's my advice.
There you have it. Yeah, whoever's playing the potentially hosting the Baltimore Ravens in the opening round, that's a pretty big break, I think. We're hearing nothing from Lamar Jackson, just that he's not practicing. Nothing. He's gone completely radio silent. This is a guy who's often very vocal on Twitter, arguing with fans and stuff like that. You know, I don't think he's going to be back there next year. Talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I think we're going to see him on the New Orleans Saints. Okay, guys, let me tell you a little bit about the Vegas Insider app. The Vegas Insider app gives you all the major sports betting odds at your fingertips, along with picks and expert breakdowns. You can shop for the best odds, find props, futures, and plenty more with the app. If you want more Vegas Insider content like our shows, videos, and podcasts, you can find it all in the app in the media section. Download the Vegas Insider app on Apple and Android. Bet better with the Vegas Insider app. Indeed. Tito, is Jags currently minus 330 to make the playoffs? It's their money line for the game, though.
Yes, Tito. All they need to do is win the game. Tito also put in our private chat here a little bit earlier. Odds for the coin toss. He put heads at plus 250, tails at plus 100. So just bet on both, and you're not going to lose any money.
Hey, I'm just going to... It's a Friday.
What's the other option? It lands on its side?
It's a Friday. Tito's working from home. He's got that water bone that he got for Christmas that he won't shut up about, sitting there with his sound effects board, laughing his head off.
Oh, he's loving it.
Eyes can be more bloodshot. He's probably still in his pajamas. He's one of these guys. You know, at least I throw on a pair of jogging pants here. You know, Ian's got the nice shirt on. I'm sure he's got a hot date this afternoon. But Tito's sitting there topless and pajamas with
Cookie Monster pajama pants, probably.
Yeah, a room full of stoners around him.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into some of these viewer picks. We had quite a few submissions here this morning, some hockey ones. Nice to see. Schreckengoss, he hit one. Him and I both hit on the over for the Devils Blues. He had the Blues team total over 2.5. Tonight he likes the Coyotes. Ian, you hit the over in that game, I believe. Coyotes Philly last night. So he likes Coyotes. Yeah, that was an easy one. Over 2.5, minus 150. He says a little juice, but for good reason. Chicago has given up 3+ goals in 19 of their last 21. The Coyotes have scored 3+ in 4 of their last 5. He gets into some analytics there as well. And yeah, a bit of a scoring upswing for the Coyotes. And we have a lot of people writing in to fade the Chicago Blackhawks this season. So yeah, can't argue with that one. What do we have next? Matty Puppy Sports. I believe he hit a college basketball one for us on Wednesday there. Forget which one. Nevada, I think maybe that was. He likes San Jose, Anaheim. Oh yeah, everyone's talking about this game. He likes over 6.5. In their last 3 matchups this season, they have combined for 11, 9, and 7 goals. Since the start of December, the Sharks have allowed 4.08 goals per game, the second most in the NHL. Yeah, both goalies suck, and San Jose is pretty good at those high-danger chances. So I wouldn't be shocked to see a high-scoring game. The Battle of California. A lot of excitement about that one. What do we have next? George M99, he's weighing in here with an NBA player prop. He likes Nikola Vucevic over 10.5 rebounds, minus 135 versus the 76ers. Vucevic has been on a tear. He's hit this in 4 of his last 5 games. Hell, Nikola hit 19 rebounds versus the 76ers team on October 29th. Now, I don't appreciate the use of the word hell, just to be completely honest there with you, George. But Joel Embiid also out for this game too, so maybe that can help Vucevic's case for that one. So we wish George M99 good luck with that one. Thank you, George, for submitting, and I think we got one more here. Producer Tito is back, weighing in here. He was bragging to Ian and I pre-show. He hit a soccer bet yesterday, so he's on a 1-0 tear right now. And he's going to look for Mahomes to go over 2.5 passing touchdowns. Even money. Vegas tied for 20th in the NFL in passing TDs allowed per game. 26 in yards allowed per pass attempt. Mahomes is looking to lock up the MVP and number 1 seed for the Chiefs. Mahomes tears the Raiders up. 26 TDs and 9 starts versus them. Yeah, a lot of great performances for Mahomes versus the Raiders over the years. Raiders, one of the worst passing defenses in the NFL. I don't know. That looks too easy. I usually am against Tito with his picks, but I probably won't bet that. But I can't fault him too much with that selection here for Saturday. I love Saturday NFL games. Okay, guys, it is now time for today's Handicapper Heat Check presented by VegasInsider.com. Your home for the best expert picks in the business since 1997. VI experts, ASA, are dominating the books in 2023, 14-3 across all sports on a 4-0 NBA run currently. Will Rogers is also on fire, 16-2 NHL streak. I could use some help from Will Rogers here, 7-2 NBA run. Bill Marzano stayed hot on the ice, extending his streak to 9-3. His last 12 NHL picks. Visit VegasInsider.com/picks for tonight's best bets. That's your Handicapper Heat Check. Stay hot, bettors.
Broncos country, let's ride.
Sneaking it in. Tito's favorite. So, Ian, what's going on this weekend in New York City? Anything fun?
No.
What's the worst part of living in New York City?
It's got to be a toss-up between the rats and just the general smell. It's not exactly a good-smelling city. It's not too bad in the winter. And in the winter, things get cold, so things don't smell as bad. In the summer, it reeks everywhere you go. So in the winter, I'd say it's more the rats are an issue. In the summer, it's more the smell. And the schizophrenic drug addicts are tough too.
How often do you see rats?
Almost every time that you go outside. If you approach a pile of garbage waiting to be picked up, the rats will hear you and they'll scurry from one side of the street to the other all the time. I'd say if I were to go for a walk somewhere 7 days a week, I'd see a rat probably on 3 of those walks.
Jesus.
Probably 3 times a week.
Rats spook me, man. I'm a little
You get used to them after a little while.
chicken shit, I guess, when it comes to infestation. Rodents. I don't like them. What's an underrated part? Obviously, like, the best part of New York would be access to, a million different activities and sports games and stuff. But what would you say is something that might be underrated?
A lot of good areas to run. If you like to run or bike along the water, I live pretty close to the Hudson River. A lot of great kind of mini park areas that you can run in, run alongside the water, run on the boardwalk, take a nice little bike ride. Also, if you're just a bike rider in general, a lot of great bike lanes on the roads too. A lot of great spots for bikers to ride and not have to rely on driving in a car or taking an Uber all the time. So there's an underrated part.
Yeah, the people watching. I was in New York in May, as you know. Me and you went to the Mets game. Mets Mariners. I went up to the Empire State Building on a foggy day. It's funny. I went up to go one day, and they're like, well, you can go all the way up, but you're not going to see anything, so you can come back tomorrow if you want. I was only there for like 2 days, and I was like, all right, I'll come back the next day. It was still foggy. It was still kind of cool, but it was a complete and total waste of money. I like New York. I got to get back to visit you, see some sporting events. Okay, Ian, so what else do you have going on in your world in terms of sports betting that chasing that pay-per-viewers can also check out?
Well, if you're watching this live in 20 minutes, I'll be going live with Krabs Bets, to talk anytime touchdown scores for Week 18. That'll be on the Hammer Network, I think, specifically the Forward Progress YouTube channel, so you can check that out if you're looking for some touchdown scores this week. Also, I gave out 4 of my picks for the NFL slate on this show. If you want all 16 of my picks, so the other 12 picks I didn't give out on the show, check out the Bacon Bets podcast. The road to 272 bets is coming to an end, and actually it has now, unfortunately, become the road to 271 bets with Bengals Bills being canceled. So I need a Hail Mary this week to get profitable, so go check that out. I think I need to go 13-3 with my picks if I want to get profitable. So big week for me for the Bacon Bets podcast. Check it out.
I'm up on the season like 1.5 units or something, which is insane considering all the work you put into this. I'm up on totals, like plus 11 units or something like that, but I'm losing bad on props, losing on spreads, close to even on teasers. I have a winning teaser record, but they're minus 120. As you know, so not a whole lot of profit there. Yeah, so we will both look to finish strong here. Ian and I are going to be back Monday. Ian and I are going to be dipping into the world of college football. Big game coming up here on Monday, the national championship game. We're also going to have our regular NBA, college basketball, NHL, so make sure you check back. Then, guys, good luck with your bets tonight. Good luck with your bets this weekend, unless, of course, you are fading us. And as always, keep chasing that paper. What?